One Up Live, a Club Nokia is brought to you by the Nokia Astound.
Okay, welcome to interview number 2 from Club Nokia, not Nokia Theater, that's down the street, something like that. Ken Levine, welcome. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you guys. How are you?
We're well. So I have a bone to pick with you.
Good. I was hoping it would start that
Yeah,
way.
exactly.
Yeah.
On stage, you mentioned your Vita project, which you said had been in the works or you were thinking about for 2 years, right?
More, I think, actually. I think it's been like 3 years.
Okay. But then before, when I had interviewed you, you said there was only one game in the works at Irrational.
Yes.
And in another interview, you had said there was only one Bioshock game in the works, period.
Yes.
So how does that all fit together with this little lie of yours?
Let's talk about language. There's in the works,
Yes.
which is like Bioshock Infinite, which is like all-consuming, every day, in the works. And then there's, hey, we're at lunch. Let's talk about this idea. Hey, let's have that artist draw some pictures. Hey, let's put a little document together. The scale of work is like monumental, but it's like our pet little project, and we sort of like part of the conversation we were having was sort of like, hey, we want to do this cool little thing because like, and here's our little piece of paper with a sketch on it, and here's the idea. And normally, like in any actual game development cycle, you have to have a prototype, hugely like fancy. Like we have this rough thing that a bunch of guys put together in their spare time. And normally there's no way you could sell that. But in the conversation with Sony, because we're building this relationship, we were able to get them on board with a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of what you normally need in the universe of game development to actually get somebody on board. So there's a language issue there, yes. I guess we did have in development. I'm also drawing pictures of Spider-Man like in my pad at home, like copying like pages out of Amazing. So that's our third game in development.
Yes. Okay. So, I mean, would you say it could be a downloadable game? It's not necessarily as big as some of these Portal games.
No. It's going to be a cool thing, and it's going to be a full thing. It's just really, really early.
Yeah.
I have a fraction of the details sketched out.
Okay.
So it's basically like they're giving us the freedom there to just go do our thing with very little information from us. It's mostly just something we just kick around whenever we get a chance.
Yeah. When you say they, you mean 2K or Sony?
Sony.
Is Sony involved as a publisher then?
What? No. But they wanted a game for that platform.
Yeah.
And we said, this is what we want. If we want to do a game on that platform, this is what we want. And they're like, okay. And I think that if it was a normal process, where you'd have to, because you have to get approval to be on platforms.
Yeah. Like it was interesting how
and normally you have to be at a certain stage to get that. We're not at that stage.
Right. Like a lot of the Wii U stuff that was announced yesterday, like Aliens, technically they announced it for their platform, but then like in the press release, they're like, this is not officially confirmed for the platform because like the contracts hadn't been signed, even though everyone knows it's going to end up
And that's why we're not going out actually saying, like, this is what the game is. Well, first of all, we don't have enough to show. Like, if we showed what we have, like, as a game developer, it like makes total sense. Like, to us, like, okay, we see where this is going. If I show this to you guys right now, well, you're a journalist. You might have a sense, but if I showed, like, the normal person on the street, they'd be like, what the fuck is that, dude? Language problem?
No.
Okay.
I'm more offended that you think we're better than our audience.
Oh, my God. We're pulling me. That's it. No, you're not better than your audience. Your audience is terrific.
I know. You are beautiful, attractive, intelligent people.
There's, the thing that's probably hard to understand is that game development is like, it's some of it when we bring it out and show it, it's like this cool, exciting thing. But it starts out in meetings, and it starts out in emails, and it starts out in like spreadsheets, and it's not for a person who hasn't been in game development. Looking at early game development stuff it seems to have no relationship to final product.
And
but for a game developer, you can like, I can look at a spreadsheet or I can look at a sketch and be like, okay, I can sort of see where this is going.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because you guys are more open about that stuff in general. Just like in the last year or two, I've been showing lots of prototypes and stuff like that. So
because look, I think one of the things we decided when we started our website, Irrational Games at irrationalgames.com, was because we're a studio and because nobody's really saying you can or can't do this, in terms of what we show, we really wanted to make it part of the mission to say, look, come in and we'll lift the curtain a little bit. But things like the zombie game we showed on our website, Division 9, which is a prototype we did, that was much further along. I was saying we were actually pitching to publishers at the time. We actually had a full working prototype and beginning, middle, and end, and art assets and stuff. But even so, all the art assets were like, because we didn't have money, were pulled from SWAT 4, like all the buildings and stuff, and the weapons were pulled from SWAT 4. Yeah. For the purpose of the prototype. Obviously, if we made the game, we would have actually made new stuff.
So just to touch on the Vita thing one more time, how big is that team compared to the Bioshock Infinite team? Or how big will it be?
Well, that team is right now very, very small because it's basically just the key creatives at Irrational drawing stuff and kicking stuff around. So that's why, all things being equal, I probably wouldn't have talked about it at the show because it's so early. I think, obviously I can understand why Sony would want to say that, and then there's stuff, that there's excitement and there is, but it's really early. So if I'm being evasive, it's just because I don't know the answers, All right.
So it's 5 guys in a closet.
It's five guys, a bunch of spreadsheets.
It's 5 guys at lunch and then going home on the weekend, like drawing cool pictures and coming in. And maybe a programmer like sketching something up on the screen. It's really early, really early.
So then one question we're asking everybody here: what do you see as kind of the big trend of the show? Like everyone kind of has their own take.
What do you see differently this week compared to last week with the games?
How is the industry different?
Well, so here's the terrible truth: is when you're showing a game at the show, you spend the entire show locked in a room.
See, that's what everyone says. We saw like some of the press conference stuff, or at least you heard about it.
So I was backstage at the Sony press conference. Yeah. I watched the most of the Microsoft press conference in a green room over at G4 with Todd Howard, and I saw a lot of that. But I think that to give real impressions, those are very brief presentations. So I just went over and I saw. I actually came in early today. Like I came in at like 8 this morning to try to just have some time to go see some booths. And of course, you're going around booths. I'm like, dude, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. Leave us alone. But I thought I'd give it a shot. So I got in to see Star Trek, which looked really cool.
The new one.
Yeah. So a friend of mine's company is producing that, and that looked really cool. They're looking to do some cool stuff. I went over to see Knights of the Old Republic, and they had some internet problems, but. The game itself looks.
You can blame that on a convention center. This never works.
No, it's it's internet hotel convention. Internet. It's useless. But the game itself, I was like, I want to play. It looks really great, and I'm gonna try to go. And I stopped to see Cliff and try to see Gears, but then I ran out of time, so I'm gonna try to go back later. But it really is. You really get locked in a room, and that's not great. Because you want to see what your colleagues are up to. So I'm struggling to get out and see stuff.
Well, glad to pull you away then. Okay, so let's sell Bioshock a little bit now. Obviously, the demo. I'll tell you something later about it. But the thing I want to talk about, I guess, apart from it being amazing and everyone loves it, and it's my personal favorite thing I've seen here. But that established, do you worry about that demo maybe being a little hectic? Maybe a little make people dizzy. It's a little too fast paced, a little hard to keep track of what's going on.
The skyline and doing all that stuff.
I guess I'm trying to answer this like in the most non-douchebaggy possible way. People seem to like it, so I think we're very attuned to watching reactions and not getting falling in love with with the smell of our own farts, as it were. So we watch what people say, and I think that when you build something like the skyline, it obviously, and actually somebody said to me yesterday, it was really interesting. They said that it's really action packed, and I said, you realize how long you play the demo plays before anybody shoots anybody?
Yeah,
it's about
10 minutes or so.
10 minutes, which for a first-person shooter is remarkable. And we are concerned making the demo, and it's actually part of a level of the game called Emporia, the end of that level. Is that people are always like, and we have this problem with the opening of Bioshock 1 as well. It's like you realize how long it takes so that you get a gun in the opening of Bioshock 1. There's a lot of people on the team who are like, dude, nobody's shooting anybody. Like, it's a first-person shooter, and I really want to focus the beginning on on the world, and Elizabeth and the Songbird and the Vox Populi, and the fact that you don't need that the combats there are things that you may get into or may not get into along the way. And then when you get to the Skyline sequence, obviously it's a pretty epic, large sequence, but it's also it's a simulational sequence in the game. It's not like an AC-130 level, which is a great level, but it's not like you go off to that level. It's part of it's just integrated part of the level, and that's something we've always, I think, in Bioshock, whether it's the boss fight with the Big Daddy being part of the level, or this kind of very different feeling movement capacity you have in the world with the Skyline, but it can't just be, it's got to be part of that world. It's got to be an integrated part of that world.
And this is the demo itself that starts out slow, but I assume the game will also have some kind of ramp up so that you're not initially falling into Skylines like right when you start.
I think actually let me answer your question first. I think I misunderstood for a second. Yeah, so obviously this is not the first time. This is about a third of the way through the game.
Yeah.
This is not the first time Booker gets on a Skyline. Yeah. So, but it's funny, if you actually sit down, just jumping on the Skyline, like if you sat there, basically the way it works is you look around and you can see where you can jump to in the simulation. You just hit the bumper, and it's not like you're hitting the A button and you just take an arbitrary jump. It shows you where you can jump to, and that's a huge range of space. And you even see, when you're in the Zeppelin at the end and you're doing that base jump, you actually look and you see you can make the jump to that Skyline. That's not like hit A to jump. That's a particular, you just happen to be able to hit that Skyline at that moment. And that's what all of us like. So if we guys, put your hands on, you just actually sit there and go boom, 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 and you can do that arbitrarily, which is great. Because we didn't want the challenge to be staying on the Skyline. We wanted, I think of it like SSX. The challenge in SSX is not, can you stand up on your skis? That's my challenge in real life. But the challenge in SSX is, in the Skylines is, can you do well on the Skyline? Can you avoid enemy fire on the Skyline? Can you fight well on the Skyline? Just being on the Skyline is not the hard part. Not in the way SSX, getting down the mountain is not the hard part. It's getting down the mountain well. And it's a movement experience and a combat experience. A movement in combat. It's not like a go here to there experience. It's a maneuverability experience and a combat experience.
All right. Well, I'm being told our time is up, so thank you for coming by. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Good to see it.